Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this gemba360 Back to Basics session. My name is Nehal Samara. I'm the General Counsel and Legal Director here at Kaizen Synergy Law Firm, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's session. Today's session focuses on the compliance calendar. I'm going to show you how it works, but I'm also importantly going to show you what is actually connected to it as well too. So let's jump in as we always do. And just before we do that, we'd like to pay our respects to the elders past and present upon the lands on which we all meet. While this session is being run by webinar and also recorded, we do pay our respects to the traditional owners accordingly. So let's jump in to the Gemba dashboard. Now, where I'm going to go is quite simply into the login screen. And I'm going to walk you through the Gemba calendar. Now, the Gemba calendar can actually be found on the left-hand side of the screen in the top corner. And you can see it just on the top left-hand corner here. Now, when I click on it, essentially what comes up is this screen here. Now, from here, what I will add, first of all, the view that you can see will be your view. Any person that logs into the calendar will see the entries that are relevant to them. Now, if I am a standard user, what I will only be able to see is the calendar entries that either are being sent to me, so my calendar entries, if I look at this drop-down menu, or the people that report to me. So if I'm a standard user, I will only see these two fields here. If, however, I am an admin user, then what I will see is the rest of these. So that includes for show all agency calendar entries, and also entries that are including the archived calendar entries as well too. So when I first of all I log in, and I can see that there's one or two things that are listed here, and I can see that by the dots here. But if I show all agency calendar entries, then what comes up is this screen here. And you can see that it refreshes and shows all of them. Now, let me just jump a couple of steps ahead and show you what I actually use this for and what a lot of other agencies do. Now, first of all, if we were as a quality or compliance manager, and let's say what we needed to generate at each meeting for my executive group or executive management group is a list of our governance, compliance, and other quality obligations. Now, quite simply, we're going into, let's say, July next month already. Can you believe it? So all I'm going to do is simply click on Details View. Now, once that comes up, what comes up is a list of all of the action items that I have. Now, if I go to print this out, essentially what I can see is my July calendar for 2022. It has a list of everything that is due and what the status is as well too. And that can be printed out. Now you can see I've got a couple of working with children checks, a policy, a contract, and an AGM notice that I need to put out. Now, where does this information come from and why is this important? Well, first of all, let me go back. We've covered off in the past, and I'm just going to go to the dashboard here. We've covered off in the past the Gemba docs. So things like your policies, contracts, if we've selected them in Gemba docs, will actually feed, the notifications will feed into the compliance calendar. Also, if I go in and have updated things like my organization profile and legal compliance profiles as well too, which we will also be coming to, these also feed into the compliance calendar. It also includes parts of the organization profile that we covered off last week. So things like, obviously for charities, where we're approaching now the AGM seasons and notices that need to be submitted back to governance agencies like the ACNC Charities Regulator. All of that information will actually appear in the compliance calendar. So the idea is that nothing should ever get missed ever across your entire governance, quality, and compliance systems as well. It also includes things like working with children checks and police checks as well. So the idea is that from the compliance calendar, when I go in, what I should be able to see is a snapshot of my agency and how it's actually traveling. Now, it's all color coded. So essentially green, oranges, and reds is how it works. So if it should be green. If it is before the review date, it'll turn orange if we are between the review date, I'm just highlighting it here, and the due date. And it'll go red if it is after and it hasn't been completed after the due date as well. Now, the way these work, if I was to go in, and the way these work quite simply is this. When we log in and when we edit it, and I've just clicked on the edit function, I can go into this and say, right, I'm going to action this. So I can mark it as completed, but what I'm going to add in here is we have submitted the WC check for Fred to the department, okay? And essentially that's what we're going to mark it as done. And I'm also going to put in, and someone's just reminded me, and wait for the confirmation back, okay? Now, I am actually going to mark it in progress, which is correct, rather than completed, because it hasn't been done. And thank you for someone that's just popped up on the comments panel here on the webinar. So now what you can see is that we've marked it in progress. Now, the marking in progress doesn't stop the notifications going out. So what I've done here is actually, you can see here, and some of these, you can actually change the due dates of when these need to be actioned by. So what we can actually do is put this in, and now I can actually set the reminder again and extend this out if I wanted to, and I've got the permission to do so. There are parts of this that, again, I can save this again. And when I actually go into this calendar entry as well and look at it, then what I'll be able to see is all of the changes that's actually occurred within this particular calendar entry. So all of the logs of what I'm actually seeing, and let me go back into this one here and actually have a look at it, is the entries of what we want to see within this particular working with children check, for example, of what we need to see. So here it is here. I've just brought this up again. And if we needed to have a look at what has gone on here, I can actually look at the individual logs for this as well too. And we've got the information of who's done what and when. So you can also pull up information of what's been seen. Now, obviously, there are some things like this that we've also placed in. If there are other areas, for example, let's say that I can see that I've got a couple of items here. One is around a contract report. I can also see, for example, that we've also got a few other items, one of which is a policy document. And someone's just asked, how do we see and update information that's also linked back to the Gemba Docs area? Well, quite simply, how we can actually do that, and I'll show you what this looks like. So let's say I've gone into the 15th of July, and this is one here. Now, what we have when I open this up is this. I can bring this up. I can see that the environmental policy is due. I can also see that down the bottom, once I have this, I actually want to get some further information about, well, what is this actual environment policy? Now, remember I said to you that the calendar is actually linked back to the Gemba Docs and vice versa. So any changes you make in the Gemba Docs end will also change information also in the calendar and updates that way. And it'll work if I change it from here. So I want to actually have a look at this environmental policy. Well, down the bottom, I can actually look at this. I can then click on that link, and what you'll see, for those of you that have been to the Gemba Docs session, is that now this has actually opened up the Gemba Docs area of the screen as well. I can then look at this. I can see what the policy information is. I can have a look at what past information has also been done through the logs. I can then also, if I wanted to, go down and actually have a look at the policy itself. And if I wanted to, here it is here, and I can bring up the policy document that I wanted to see. And this is just a sample policy itself. So I can see that information that you've listed that I've got here. Now, from here, what I can do is also, if I bring this back up, and this is the way this all works, I can actually bring this up. I can actually modify the policy document from here. I can load in the document that I wanted to see directly from here as well too. I can choose the new document that I wanted to load in by clicking on choose file, and I can bring up a test policy document. Here it is here. And let's say I've just loaded the new document into this screen here. I can then also update the fields from here, the review dates as well. And I can upload and save the document from here. What that'll do is then update the calendar information as well. So if I now change this, and let's say I change this to 2023, and let's say I'm going to change this to 12th of July 2023 is the new review date. I'm going to set the new review date to 2023 as well too. And I'm simply going to upload and save that. Let's see what actually happens once we've done that. Now, once we've done that, what I can do from here, and I'm just going to jump back to the calendar and show you. Where I'm going to go is back into the calendar. Now, when I go into the calendar, what you can see from here, if I go to show all agency calendars, the 15th has now moved and I've got no items action there. So essentially the calendar is live. It's showing me exactly what actions we have. The other parts of the system is all linked together. So that way any changes in the Gemba docs will actually shift it and it now becomes an activity now for 2023. And it's essentially been actioned and completed. It'll also create the audit logs that I need within this as well too. So each one of these items, as you go through, will actually guide you back to where the Gemba system is. If you also have policy review forms on here, that will actually feed into the calendar as well too, and you can connect those through. The other important part that I will add is that at any stage, if you wanted to actually have a look at things like your own, let's say, policies register, you can simply type the word policy, and this will actually bring up a list of my policies register. If I wanted to actually have a look at, for example, my contracts as well too, I can do exactly the same thing on here and actually run my contracts report as well too of what I want to see. And again, I can simply click on filter. I can type in the word contract and I can click on search. And now I've got my sample contracts here. So any changes that are actually happening within your system is actually being managed directly out of the compliance calendar. Lastly, what I just wanted to show you was this. There may be things that you actually want to set up in your own calendars that are unique to your agency. So all of these things that you can do is simply be done by actually clicking on add a new calendar entry. Now, an example of what you might want to do is, let's say you wanted to set up your own internal audit. So I might have A, B, C, D group. Now, let's say I've got and this is the agency that I'm attached to at the moment. And the compliant document that I'm going to say is I want to do an internal audit of, let's say, the audit. Actually, no, let's do this. Terms of reference for all our committees. Okay, something simple like this. So all I'm going to say is it's an internal audit document for all our committees. Now, what's this? The requirement is review TORs, and outcome is TORs are up to date. So something simple that you might do. Now, in this, I'm simply going to say, right, I actually want this done next month in July. So I'm going to set those dates. Look, it shouldn't take too long, so I'm just going to start it on the 10th or the 11th of July, and then I'm going to run it through to the 22nd. Now, what you can do from here is actually select who you want this to go to. So in this case, I'm actually going to select that I want Dino to actually do it, and it's going to come back to Stuarto in this case, okay? And all I'm going to have is click on save. Now, when that happens, it's going to automatically create an entry. And on this date, the 11th, it'll fire off a reminder to Dino. And on the 22nd, if it's not actioned a week before this date, then it'll fire up another email out to Stuarto. And once I click on save, that'll automatically generate it. Now, there may also be things that you want to do from either week to week, daily, week to week, or month to month, or yearly. And you can actually set these up as well too by have repetitive things that internal audits, for example, that you might want to do. So if this was an internal audit, for example, and let's say actually instead of the terms of reference, it was an internal audit of our fridge temperature. And I just wanted to make sure that each week, each month, that this is being done. And I'm just going to put on fridge here and just say fridge, and I'm just going to call it fridge compliance, okay? And so essentially I could actually set this and actually have these set up for ever and a day. And I might go, right, I actually want to set this up till, right, let's do it right across till 23rd, 2023, June 30th, okay? And I can actually have that down. Now what this will do is then set essentially all of those in place, ready to go for each of the following months. So really running out of your compliance calendar, you can see how quickly you can actually run these up. It gives you the centralized report across your whole dashboard and also allows you the flexibility to actually add in new items that you also want to create yourselves. Those are the main things that I wanted to cover off today. More than happy to stay online and answer any questions that you might have. Next week, we will be running out about updating, creating new users, and also updating people's profile when people leave as well too. As I mentioned, happy to stay online and answer any questions that you might have coming out of the session. For those of you that are watching this recording after today's live session, and if you do have any questions, then by all means, please reach out to us on 1300 360 360, or you can email us at support@gemba360.com.